Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jody Keller, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Cavallo. I'd like to welcome everyone to our Profit Scan webinar. The team and I couldn't be more excited to share one of our newest products for Business Central with you. The format for today will be a 15 to 20-minute presentation that includes a live demonstration followed by open Q&A. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation using the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and we will do our best to answer all the questions at the end. Lastly, this is a reminder that today's webinar is being recorded and you can view it on demand or share it with your colleagues using your registration link at any time after the webinar. Mike Radin is our presenter today. He is a senior sales engineer and what we like to call a profit expert. Mike will be setting the stage with some common business problems that Profit Scan addresses, and we'll follow up with a live demonstration of the app. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mike to introduce himself and kick it off.
Yeah, hello, and thank you so much for kicking things off in the introduction, Jody. As Jody mentioned, my name is Mike Radin. I'm a senior sales engineer at Cavallo. I've been here for almost 3 years now, and I came from a background in business intelligence and analytics. My favorite part of this role is the opportunity to work with different customers and prospects every day, always getting the opportunity to address and solve for new challenges. So I'm happy to be here today presenting on our Profit Scan platform for Business Central. For today's agenda, I'm going to start off with an introduction to Cavallo for those in the audience who may not be as familiar with us. I'll then get into Profit Scan at a 10,000-foot level, just to understand what Profit Scan does, how it works before jumping into a live demonstration. After the demo, I'll do a recap and talk a little more on our extended Business Central footprint. Profit Scan's just one of our software tools in that space, so we'll just briefly touch on some of the others. And then lastly, we'll have time for questions and answers at the end. So please feel free to pop those into the chat throughout the call, and Jody will make sure we get to those at the end and get those answered. So a little more about Cavallo. In the background of this slide, I'm sure you can recognize some of the different brands and logos of our customers and the many different industries that we serve. We were founded 21 years ago, and in that time, we've had the opportunity to serve over 1,000 customers with more than 20,000 users of our software. We're extremely proud of our high retention rate and our 96 Net Promoter Score, which is really a testament to our support teams and the value that we've been able to help our customers create. Some more on Cavallo's focus. We were founded by a distributor, and as such, we've been focused on helping distributors and other product-centric businesses ever since. We know that many in the industry work on low profit margins, and our products sharply focus on finding and fixing any leaks while making continuous improvements in your processes. Increases in revenue often come with the need for an increase in headcount. One of the key value drivers we aim to deliver is supporting that growth through increased order speeds and throughput without the need to increase headcount. We have a portfolio of tools in Business Central to help achieve these outcomes. Today, we'll primarily focus on Profit Scan webinar or Profit Scan software, but we'll talk about some of those other platforms later on in the webinar. This is a quote from one of our customers, Tyler at Toolmatics, that I think does a good job of representing what we do. Cavallo provides much better visibility into order profitability than BC does on its own. We're stopping low margin orders that used to get through. So this just really ties into one of the value drivers we love. It's providing 100% process visibility in everything that we touch. So really appreciate this quote from Tyler. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the key features of Profit Scan. Profit Scan gives customers the ability to automatically detect low margin orders or quotes to prevent profit leakage due to over discounting, vendor changes, and many other problems. Presenting those problematic orders and quotes to business leaders helps them gain full visibility in how those sales documents stack up against your target margins. And having the ability to set those customizable margin targets at a holistic document level or by item groups and classifications gives a lot of control to you as a user to make sure you're maximizing your profitability. And having the ability to understand that impact by making critical margin related data information available throughout Business Central is the key value driver of Profit Scan. I wanted to show this graphic. This really breaks down our feature sets for what we offer as a free version of Profit Scan versus our paid version of Profit Scan. And I'll try to keep this extremely clear throughout the demo as well, where that line ends between the free and paid version, just so you have that understanding. And just want you to know, if you weren't already aware, you can download our free version of Profit-Scan from the App Source right now. And if you haven't done so already, I definitely encourage you to do so. So in our free version, you can see you have the ability to self-install. Once you download that application from App Source, you're going to be able to set base targets that you want every single order or quote in your process to meet, and be able to set those sub-target margins as well for things like item category, and other classifications as well. You'll get view into a dashboard so you can easily identify every single order that's missing its margin target. And the time to value is incredible. The tool scans thousands of orders in seconds. So I can safely say, from the time you download, install the app, the setup and calculations are going to happen in about 5 minutes. So time to value is extremely, extremely good. So let's go ahead and jump into the demo so we can see the tool in action. Let me switch gears on my screen here. So from a first-time user perspective, I can't show exactly what that experience would look like. I've downloaded and installed Profit-Scan many times and don't have the experience, but essentially, as soon as you download the application from the store, you are going to see a banner across the top of your Business Central environment letting you know, hey, do you want to set up Profit-Scan? And you can just click into that, and we have a wizard that will guide you through the setup. I am able to kick off that process somewhat manually, so I'll go ahead and do that. And this is exactly what it's going to look like for you as a first-time user setting it up as well. So it's just asking me if I want to set this up again. I've already done so. We'll hit yes so we can see this. So once you first click into here, you're going to get this welcome screen where you can click this link to documentation. We've tried to provide as much information around the platform as possible, so this is a good resource to go and learn more about Profit-Scan. I'm not going to click into that today, but instead we'll just hit next, which will prompt me to set my base target margin percentage. This is what I mentioned earlier as being the threshold that you want to make sure that no quote or no order is going to be processed that is below this target margin. And then we have those more granular controls as well. So I've set my base target margin at 20. I'm good with that. So I can hit next. And this is where I now have that ability to get more specific and granular by setting up sub targets. So you can see I already have one pre-populated from my prior setup, that any item with a category code of monitors should have a target margin of 35%. So this is going to be looked at before that holistic 20%. So as long as we have a item that belongs to the category code monitor, it's going to require that has a 35% margin, or we'll flag it. You can add additional. You're not limited to just one or a few different sub-targets. I could set up another one. Perhaps I have a dimension that I want to use and set a sub-target based on. So perhaps I'll just go to customer group, and then I'll be able to select from those options. Alternatively, I could do business group, select an option there. So maybe my industrial customers and business groups should really be processed at a 25% margin versus that base 20, or the 35 for monitors. Priority allows you to set how you want that to be processed. So obviously the top priority is going to be processed first. So if a category happened to be a monitor category code and fell into the dimension group of industrial, we're going to still require that 35% margin, but then we'd go down to that 25 if it wasn't part of monitors. So you can set different priorities. You can update these over time. If I want to change the priority of those two, I can just change those priority levels and then recalculate my target margins. So if I'm good with everything I have set up here for the first time, I can always come back and make changes. I can go ahead and hit next, which will take me to the next screen, which has some additional documentation links for user setup and how document archiving works. So you can click in those to learn a little bit more about that. But now, once I hit finish, this is going to go ahead and actually run through all of my open orders and quotes based on those margin targets that I set, and do the calculation to see if we are meeting or missing that threshold. So we can see that worked really fast. I only have 26 documents or so in this demo environment to churn through. So of course that's going to be fast, but we've seen this go extremely fast for those customers who even have thousands of orders. So now immediately brought to my attention are 8 orders that are under my margin target. And this dashboard's providing great information as to what the calculated margin amount was, what the actual percent was, and what our target was. So we can see how far off we are. We have all this information flagging every single quote and order. You can see that 7 of these are orders, and I just have this one quote in here. I could choose to filter my view to only look at orders or quotes. I could build additional filters into this view if I wanted to look at the information any differently, which we will do in just a moment. I'm going to take a step backwards for a moment now that we have that set up. Once you have it installed and set up, Profit Scan, you'll notice that there's a new navigational menu at the top of your Business Central environment for Cavallo Profit Scan. So hitting that drop down will give you access to look at 4 different areas. So Profit Scan, accepted documents, and followed documents. Navigating to settings will allow me to make any changes to those sub-targets or base target margin. And one of the areas that wasn't shown in setup is this reason code configuration. So in our paid version, you have the ability to accept or reverse acceptance of margin on documents. So perhaps you had a valid reason for selling something below the target margin. It's part of a larger deal. It's a special customer, whatever that case might be. You can go ahead and approve that margin that's below threshold, so it will no longer show on the dashboard or be flagged as missing its target. So I just have 2 simple ones there, one to approve an order and one to undo an approval. But you might want to create multiple for different reasons. It was approved as part of a larger deal. It was approved as a one-off. It was approved. And then you'll have the ability to have that audit information available so you can track that over time and see why and how an order was approved. And then I can navigate back into my dashboard by hitting Profit Scan, or I've even added a quick navigation here just to get directly to the dashboard quick. We'll open up my Profit Scan view. So from what we saw so far, the self-install or setup that I did, the view of the dashboard, being able to set your base and target margins, and having this run in just seconds is all part of the free version. To give access and visibility more throughout the tool, you're looking at the paid version where we're going to make this information visible throughout Business Central. So you can see it on your sales lines, at order entry, quote entry. You can view this information on your archive documents, and then you can drill even a little bit deeper here on the dashboard. So for example, I can see this order here. Looks kind of unique compared to some of my others. The overall quote or order is meeting its margin target, but there's a specific line that is not. So I can see that the line is missing the margin target, but my order as a whole is not. So maybe I want to click into that order, and that's going to pull up a screen that's going to show me that line level data. And again, this is part of the paid version, so you can get a little more granular with your analysis. Some of the tiles that we provide, just making the margin percent that you're actually achieving clear, what that amount is, your target, and then how far off you are by missing your target margin. I have a negative margin variance of almost $5. As you have more orders, larger orders, you can see how that number is going to continue to increase and have an impact on your overall profitability. I have the ability to do a couple of different actions on these orders in the paid version. I can accept if I have the user credentials to do that. So primarily that's going to be a manager or someone who has the ability to approve a margin being below threshold. As soon as I accept that order, that's going to remove it from my dashboard. But I can go ahead and give a comment. So I'll just say, live demo is my reason I'm approving this. Going to give it that approval code and accept. And now that's instantly dropped off my dashboard. I now only have 7 documents under target, so I'll no longer focus on that one that's already been approved. I can also email one of these orders. So if I'm a manager or a business leader and I find an order that's under margin and I want to ask a sales rep or customer service rep more questions about that, I have the ability to enter a comment. So I'll just enter a comment. I could follow the document. I'm going to choose not to in this case. I can go and review the email. So this will allow you to send to anyone in your Business Central network. It's going to provide a link to that order that they can click on and give the detailed information on why this is below margin or your target. And then you can ask them to follow up on it. So you can easily communicate anything being done or anything that needs action in regard to these orders or quotes that are below margin. I'm going to go ahead and discard the draft instead of sending it to myself. Now that I've accepted a document, and I will go ahead and follow this document, so I can just go ahead and click follow. So where I'm going to see that is if I come back to My mission control, I can look at all needs approval, needs my approval specific. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong app. I can look at my accepted documents. So this is that document that I just accepted that's now not showing on my missing target dashboard. Perhaps I want to revert this. Maybe I approved it by mistake or was just a little too quick to jump the gun. So we'll go ahead and do a reverse, and then I can choose that undo reason. So now that's going to drop off my accepted documents, and it'll be back into my main dashboard. The other area was follow documents. So by default, you'll have a list of all documents that are assigned to you or need your attention, or you can look at all the documents holistically. If there's specific documents that you as a manager, a sales rep, any user want to follow specifically, that's where that follow document functionality comes into play. And you'll see that in this list here. So with the paid version, one of the great features of that is the ability to see it all throughout Business Central. So one of the things, and this is included in the free version too, you can add some tiles and some notifications here on your home screen. I've just added this model here for Cavallo Profit Scan, so I can see how many of my documents are under target, what that variance is. So have all that information holistically at a glance. But I can also see this as I'm entering a sales order or quote. So if I go to create a new sales order, we're going to add some new places on the screen where you can see margin data. You can see if you're hitting your targets, and you can see that in real time. So hopefully that helps when people are doing data entry, that they're noticing that things are coming below margin, so we can correct the action before we even have to go through the dashboard and follow up. So I'll just create an order for my customer Adam here. Wait for that to populate. You'll notice this new model here for Profit Scan. As I'm entering items onto this order, I'm going to see these fields update. We can see exactly what the calculated margin amount is, any variance compared to our targets. We're also going to add this modal screen over here where we can see that status, whether it's missing or meeting its target. And then those same calculations are going to be present. So no matter where you're navigated on the screen, you're going to be able to see how that order is stacking up based on your targets. So let me go ahead and add a couple of items to this order. Add this Athens desk. Add a chair. As you can see right now, everything's good. We're seeing green. We're meeting our target margin. Our sub-targets aren't being broken. But perhaps you're able to discount as a sales rep or have the ability to change the price. And maybe you just go a little too far and over discount. So maybe I try to give a price break to $175 for this item. As soon as I click out of that, it's going to recalculate the margin. You can now see that my margin percent for this item is at 14%. It's dipped below our 20% threshold that we had set. So now this order is going to be flagged as missing target. But as the person doing data entry, once this becomes a built-in known process, you can start noticing these things before you get that dashboard stuff. So, oh, maybe I just need to give less of a discount, or maybe I shouldn't give a discount at all on this order, or I at least know that I'm going to have to request special approval so that visibility is there and very clear. So if I back out, this order will now be a part of my dashboard. So if I go ahead and click into that, I should now see I have those 9 documents. That new document I just created is now in this list. So you can see that at the quote entry and the order entry screen, which is extremely helpful, but you can also see it from an archived document perspective and at a sales line perspective. So it's very clear to see when I'm creating these orders that have 1 or 2 line items, but I know a ton of our customers, a ton of businesses have orders with 100 lines or 20 lines. And it's a little harder to find that needle in the haystack when you have a lot of orders with a lot of lines on them. So we've passed on that functionality to the sales line view. So I can go ahead and navigate to that view. And by default, I have my view set as all, but I could also, create another filter on this view so that I could look at this information just based on those that are missing margin target. So all I've done is created a filter for this list that has a margin status of missing target. So now I have a list of all the different line items that are not meeting that margin target threshold. I can take this a step further. If I have different margins or different people are responsible for different areas of my business, I can create a missing target just based on what we fulfill out of my south warehouse. Or maybe I'm only responsible for things we're selling out of my main warehouse. You can build out these different views so that you're only looking at it from the perspective that your role requires, or just be able to do some different analysis if you have different margin thresholds that you want to support from different locations or other different classifications. You have that ability to get into that view here. So those views can be very, very helpful in creating different looks at your business and helping you address and analyze those different sub-targets that you have set. You can view that at an individual line basis instead of having to churn through every order to find what lines are missing their margin targets. So that was what I had for today's demo, and that's intentional. Profit-Scan was built to be simple to use but powerful. Getting those insights in seconds, being able to set up all the different views you need to, and actually calculating and seeing how your margin is being impacted and what you can do to address that is 100% a goal of what we're trying to achieve. So I'm going to jump back into our presentation. And just want to talk about some of the takeaways from what we just saw in the demo. We were able to identify low margin orders and help avoid the processing of those orders that could hurt your profitability. We saw that time to value from when I did setup to when we calculated it on all of my open documents. That was in mere seconds. So I feel extremely confident to say under 5 minutes from download to visibility, even for those of you with a lot more open orders and quotes. You get a clear picture of money that could be left on the table. We saw that margin variance and we saw that at an individual order, individual line level, but you can look at that from a dashboard perspective and understand just how much money you could be leaving on the table by not hitting your target margins. And for those of you who've been in Business Central for a while, you know that margin visibility on quotes and orders is missing throughout BC. So we provide it for free in the dashboard throughout Business Central with our paid version. And this really allows us to change and correct any behaviors that might be eating into our profitability. I mentioned I would talk briefly on our expanded Business Central footprint. So we currently have 3 products for Business Central users that we can categorize by 3 key groups. What we like to call find, fix, and analyze. So find is where we would categorize Profit-Scan that we looked at today. Fix is our mission control product, and analyze would be our profit analytics platform, which I'll move to the next slide just to talk a little bit more on these. So Profit-Scan we just went through, being able to instantly view the margin and profitability on all of our opens, quotes, and orders, being able to set flexible margin targets, so by item class, category, and different classifications. And great thing is the Essentials version is free on AppSource today. If you're interested in the paid version, please reach out. We'd love to talk about it. Fix was mission control, which is really going to give you the ability to maximize individual order profitability through the use of business rules and automations. We aim to increase that margin we're getting on every order, increase the throughput, and do all of that without increasing headcount. And lastly, our profit analytics platform allows you to dive deep and identify different drivers of margin growth and leak across your posted invoices. We have item and customer analytics, can identify customer churn analysis, figure out who's at risk, use that data to market and sell to your customers who perhaps haven't purchased from you in a while, and really leveraging our expertise to create those reports for you in a curated system instead of having the need to hire BI or consultant talent to do that for you. So I know that Jody has been keeping track of any questions that have been in the chat throughout the call. So we're definitely going to get to those, but I did want to mention you can scan the QR code here to see Cavallo on AppSource. My email's here if you want to reach out directly if you have any questions or think of them after the webinar, or you can always contact us through our website to get a hold of someone here at Cavallo. So I'll turn it over to you, Jody, for any questions.
Okay, I do see some questions starting to come in. If anyone has a question, again, please use that Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen to submit your question. The first one, Mike, is how is the document level margin goal calculated?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Profit-Scan uses a weighted average of all the sales lines margin goals to determine the goal of the sales document. So that's going to take into consideration if you have those sub-targets set up by item category, dimensions, and it's going to do a weighted average based on all those lines and the targets you have set up.
Okay, hold on. We have another one coming in. What is the difference between the base target margin and sub-target margins?
Yeah, so those sub-target margins allow you to get extremely detailed in understanding where you might be leaking margin. As items are added to a sales order, Profit Scan will look to first assign a specific item sub-target based on the priority you have set up that we're looking at. And then it'll look at any applicable sub-targets based on priority. And lastly, look at that base target margin that you have set up to ensure that every inventory item is assigned to a goal and analyzed.
Okay. Oh, we have another one. Hold on. How do you ensure specific users don't have access to businesses' margin numbers while inside Business Central?
Yes, that's a great question. So with the setup of Profit Scan, it's gated under specific role centers within Business Central. So you can limit the exposure to the menu throughout BC. But in the event that you wish to gate specific elements of the application, there's 4 different user permissions that can be configured in user setup that range from none, having 0 access, to admin. So one of those 4 levels should be able to grant more or less access based on the user throughout Business Central with Profit Scan.
Okay. Last call for questions. Anybody else? Okay, if there are no further questions, then I want to thank our presenter, Mike, and of course, all of you for spending time with us today. As you just saw firsthand, downloading the free version of Profit Scan from Microsoft AppSource is very quick and easy. We encourage you to take advantage of this valuable tool. If you'd like to speak with a team member about Profit Scan for your business, we would be glad to connect you with someone. Please feel free to reach out to Mike using his email address on the slide. Thank you again for joining us and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.